Chapter 3 of Frigid Fracas by Mack Reynolds. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Dale Grothman. Chapter 3. When Fred Soligen entered his living room, he automatically switched off the telescreen, which was the entire north wall. The room's lights automatically went brighter. His perpetual air of sour cynicism was absent as he chuckled to the room's sole inhabitant. What? A son of mine gawking at telly? Next I'll find Tranks by the bowlful, sitting on the tea table. His son grinned at him. Already at the age of 16, Samuel Soligen was a good 3 inches taller than his father, at least 10 pounds heavier. The boy was bright-eyed, toothy of smile, gawky as only a teenager can be gawky, and obviously the proverbial apple of his father's eye. Sam said, the faintest note of apology in his tone, "Just finished my assignments, Papa. Thought I'd see if there was anything worthwhile on the air." "An incredible optimist," Freddie chuckled. "You take after your mother. Believe me, Sam, there is nothing worthwhile on telly." "Not even when you're casting?" "Especially when I'm casting, boy. What have you been getting at Temple School these days?" "Zen, I've been so busy on a special project I've been working on, I haven't had time to keep check on whether or not you're even still living there." The boy shrugged, picked up an apple from the sideboard, and began to munch. His voice was disinterested. Comparative religion mostly. We gotta go way back and study about the Greeks and the triple goddesses, and then the Olympians. All that crud. Hey, watch your language, Sam. Remember, you're going to wind up a priest. "Yeah," the boy grumbled. "That'll be the day. Have you ever heard of a lower becoming a full priest? I'll be lucky if I get to monk." Fred Soligen sat down suddenly across from his son. His voice lost its edge of good-natured humor and became deadly serious. "Listen, son, you were born a high lower just like your father. Unfortunately, I wasn't jumped to low middle until after your birth. And you're not going to stay a high lower any more than I'm going to stay a low middle." The boy shrugged, his expression almost surly now. What difference does it make? High lower isn't too bad. It's sure better than low lower. I've got enough stock issued me for anything I'll ever need. Or, if not, I can work a while, just like you've done, and earn a few more shares." Fred Soligen's face worked in alarm. "Hey, Sam, listen here. We've been over this before, but maybe not as thoroughly as we should have. Sure, this people's capitalism on the top of the welfare state, they've got all sorts of fancy names to call it. You've got cradle-to-grave security. Instead of waiting for old age or 30 years of service or something to get your pension, it starts at birth. At long last, the jerks have inherited the earth." The boy said plaintively, as though in objection to his father's sneering words, "You aren't talking against the government or the old-time way of doing things, are you, Papa? What's wrong with what we got? Everybody's got it made. Nobody has to—" His father was impatiently waving a hand at him in negation. "No, everybody doesn't have it made. Almost everybody's bogged down. That's the trouble, Sam. The guts have been taken out of us. And 99 people out of 100 don't care. They've got bread and butter security. They've got Trank to keep them happy. And they've got the fracases to watch, the sadistic, gory death of others to keep them amused, and their minds off what's really being done to them. We're not part of that 99 out of 100, Sam. We're two of those who aren't jerks. We're on our way up out of the mob to where life can be full. Got it, son? A full life. Doing things worth doing. Thinking things worth thinking. Associating with people who have it on the ball." He had come to his feet in his excitement and was pacing before the boy, who sat now, mouth slightly agape at his father's emphasis. "Sam, listen. I'm getting along, already in my 40s, and I never did get much education back when I was your age. Maybe I'll never make it, but you can. That's why I insisted you switch categories. You were born into communications like me, but you've switched to religion. Why'd you think I wanted that? Ah, I don't know, Papa. I thought maybe... His father snorted. Look, son, I haven't spent as much time with you as I should, especially since your mother left us. She just couldn't stand what she called my being against everything. She was one of the jerks, Sam. You oughtn't to talk about my mother that way, Sam said sullenly. All right, all right. I just meant that she was willing to spend her life sucking on trank, watching telly, and living on a pittance income from the inalienable stock shares issued her at birth. But let's get to this religious curd. Son, whatever con man first thought up the idea of gods put practically the whole human race on the sucker list. You say they're giving you comparative religion in your classes at the temple now, eh? Okay. Have you ever heard of a major religion where the priests didn't do just fine for themselves? But, Papa, well, shucks, there's always been... Certainly. Individuals, crackpots, usually out of tune with the rest of the priesthood. But the rank and file do pretty well for themselves. Didn't you point out earlier that a lower in our society never makes full priest? Not to speak of bishop or ultra-bishop. They're uppers, part of the ruling hierarchy. Well, what's all this got to do with me getting into category religion? I'd think it'd be more fun in communications, like you. Gee, Papa, going around meeting all those famous... Fred Soligen's face worked. Look, son, sure, I meet a lot of people on top. But the thing is, eventually you're going to become one of those people, not just interview them. He began pacing again in nervous irritation. Sam, those on top want to stay there, like always. They freeze things so they and their kids will remain on top. In our case, they've made it all but impossible for anybody to progress from the caste they were born in. Not impossible, but almost. They've got to allow a man with extraordinary ability, like, to bust out to the top, if he's got it on the ball. Otherwise, there'd be an explosion. That's not the way they say in school. It sure isn't. The story is that anybody can make upper if he has the ability. But the thing is, Sam, you can't just make a jerk realize he's a jerk. If he sees somebody else rising caste, he can't see why he shouldn't. That's why real rising has been restricted to category military and category religion. In the military, a man gives up his security, obviously, and if he's a jerk, he dies. In category religion, they've got another way to sort out the jerks and make sure they never get further than monk and beyond the caste of high-lower. Gods always work in mysterious ways, and anybody in category religion who doesn't have faith in the wisdom of God's mysterious choices of who to ordain and who to reject obviously shows that he has not really got the true faith, which is, of course, essential to a priest, not to speak of a bishop or ultra-bishop. So obviously, the gods were wise in rejecting him. In simpler words, the would-be priest who simply hasn't got what it takes can be given the heave-ho without it being necessary for him or his family or friends to understand why. That's all very simple. He lacked the humility essential in a priest of the gods, as proven by his rebellious reaction. Sam said unhappily, I don't get all this. Fred Soligen came to a pause before the boy, sat down again abruptly, and patted his son's knee. You're young, Sam. Too young to understand some of it. Trust your father. Stick to your studies now. You have to get the basic gobbledygook. But you're on your way up the ladder, son. I've got a deal cooking that's going to give us an in. Can't tell you about it now, but it's going to mean an important break for us. It was then that the door announced Major Joseph Mauser calling on Frederick Soligen. End of chapter 3.